the Swamp Thing Winter Special, #1. Tom King doing the main story with Jason Fabok, and then obviously there's the Len Wein written story, or at least plotted. It wasn't finished. There was no dialogue in the issue itself. You can read the script, of course.
I'll be honest, I just kind of flicked through that half.
Me too.
No, I went through it. When you say flick through it, what do you mean, the script, or you mean the actual art?
The actual art.
Yeah, well, obviously, I mean, that's kind of what you've done.
Yeah, but I feel like with a lot of these, I could look at it and go, okay, I see, what is going on here. But I was just kind of going, oh yeah, this looks nice.
No, I kind of went through that more than that. I didn't read the whole plotty thing, because it's actually kind of misleading, because it says it's an 80-page giant, but you've really only got about a 30-page Tom King story, and then you've got the unfinished story with just the art, and then you've got the breakdown for that, and then you've got some some art and dedications and stuff like that.
It was
letters.
more of a Len Wein dedication issue than anything.
Oh, of course, yeah. So Tom King's story is about Swampy, and he's in the snow, and he's protecting a little kid, because the snow monster's coming. The kid keeps talking about the snow monster, and Swamp Thing keeps trying to protect him. And a lot of time passes. It keeps saying later. It never tells you exactly how long. It just keeps saying later. Yeah. Later than this happens. Then later than this happens, and that's kind of it. How did you think about this, Matt?
So a lot of Tom King just severing limbs throughout this one. I mean, Swamp Thing with his hand to make a fire. And the kid gets frostbite, and he's got to hack the foot off. I was like, man, this is going down some dark places that I was not expecting.
Well, I mean, the real question though is, I know how you feel, but this is you. How did you feel about the bear?
Oh, I did not like it. I did like his I'll return you home and all that. Like, I liked that sentiment, but yeah, I don't like having like. Shirtless Bear Fighter is one thing, right? That's a cartoon. This has a sense of realism to it. It was like, I don't want to spoil anything from Josh Williamson's Birthright, but there's a scene similar to that in Birthright that just comes from out of nowhere.
Oh, is this also with a bear?
Me. Yes, and it affected me. So, but that's the main part of that story. But yeah, no, I like King on Swamp Thing. Really, my only real pass with Swamp Thing is the Scott Snyder and then Charles Soule run. I love that Soule run so much. In fact,
I like the Snyder run a lot. I think it's very good, but the Soule run is much better.
And here, I like that King has a completely different take. Like, he really is relishing in the darkness. That I feel Soule really made him his own superhero.
Swamp Thing
it was a lot of fun, wasn't it? This is a horror.
Yeah, which I think suits Swamp Thing better. I think Tom King is obvious for Swamp Thing. I feel like Tom King doing a Swamp Thing run is inevitable at some point in DC.
Let's be honest, though. What is Tom King not obvious for at this point?
No,
but here's why I say that, though, because Swamp Thing is a character where you play with the torture, the horror of it. He's a tortured character who thinks he's a monster. That is so Tom King in so many ways. That's what he's doing with Mr. Miracle.
I mean, that's Mr. Miracle, but that's not really Batman. That wasn't Grayson. Vision.
I'm not saying everything he's ever written is like that. I'm saying the notable stuff he's done with both Mr. Miracle, and I've not read it, but from what I've heard about Vision, it sounds like he did that with that as well.
Yeah, I'm not picking up. It's not like Snyder, where you think like Snyder's perfect for darkness in that way.
It's a different kind of darkness, though. It was the idea of questioning your own humanity. That's very much it's that raw emotion that Tom King does really well. I don't know. I think he's perfect for Swamp Thing. I don't know. It feels like a perfectly shaped
I think he's perfect for this version of Swamp Thing, but that's not always something like the Soul Run was Swamp Thing as a superhero essentially, and that was great. So,
yeah, but I've not. I dropped that after 2 issues. What I have read.
But you never even got into the actual me and Connor are talking about. You just did the Superman story. I
can't remember. But the point is, what I have read is Snyder's Swamp Thing, and I've read a fair chunk of Alan Moore's Swamp Thing.
Right.
And for me, this is Swamp Thing. For me, this is more what Swamp Thing is.
Yeah. Well, if that's what Swamp Thing is, I'm not a big fan of it.
Oh no, I prefer this wildly. This sad Swamp Thing who's
I'm not gonna lie. I like King a lot. This story is kind of I got to the end, and I was like, okay, cool. I'm glad it's over.
I mean, with Matt on the soul thing, I love that. And I think maybe I prefer that because I think it was a better read in general as a run. But this as an issue, I think is great.
Yeah, this is fantastic. The art's gorgeous as well, of course.
Art, it's fabric.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
So what's the moment everyone realized what was going on?
I actually don't know. Honestly, I feel like the second time he referred to the snow monster and we hadn't seen it yet, I'm like, okay, this is not what it seems.
Yeah,
it was
wasn't
pretty early.
I think the moment I got exactly what it was is when he goes to cut off the foot and you see him start and the kid's screaming, and then on the next page he's fine.
Yeah, so the kid's not really there. It's just Swamp Thing on his own. Like which again adds to the sadness of the story. And it's this eternal thing. But no, everything about it, try to keep warm, the idea of the snow in the winter, and like he's part of the green, and he can't, he needs to get back to spring, which is why the ending's so beautiful, because he's actually back, finally the snow's gone, and he gets to reconnect to the earth and the green and flourish.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
No, it's gorgeous. And the panel where he, kills the kid, like obviously you don't see it, but you know he did exactly what he did to the bear. Like you just get that because you saw it earlier. Which is why I think that bear was really clever in terms of setting that up.
Yeah, that bear death was great. That whole spike through the neck.
Yeah.
It's great.
Disagree.
And you get the same sound effect when it happens to the kid.
Slunk.
Yeah. I like how Matt is so against a bear being killed in any way.
I'm not, because again, I understand conservation, but that doesn't mean I have to enjoy it in my hobby. I don't go out there and look for bear death videos. I could separate it.
I like that's something that he doesn't want to do it. It's just like this is a case of survival. It's this is what
I like the sentiment, and I like that he says, I have to do this, but I will be back for you through the green and return you home for whatever that means. And it sets that up for him later.
It's more, he'll return his essence to the earth in the way that life does.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like that you can tell he's getting skinnier as it goes on. Like Swamp Thing is getting weaker, and he's getting weaker. And he's and the whole idea that he has to kill his fears, and he's he's inner child essentially, but the idea that to be strong, to survive in this, he has to be a monster, is a really bleak outlook, but it's something that's very touching and moving. It really ties into really again what I think of as Swamp Thing is the classic tragic monster figure who is trying to keep his humanity, but he's struggling to. No, I liked it a lot. Because it was that touching humanity thing and that idea of becoming what you fear to survive, and I thought all that was really, really poignant. So no, I dug the shit out of this. So and then the unfinished story was a fun flick through to see kind of just sort of what the story was, because obviously it was meant to be the part of a 6-issue series. So ultimately it's never going to be that satisfying because it's not finished. But when I glanced through the layouts for it, because it was because the reason why there's no dialogue because he never actually wrote the dialogue, but he wrote the breakdown for it. And there was a couple of things in there. Like at one point he said that Commissioner Gordon says something like, "Oh, that the crime scene looked like a scene out of a Wes Craven movie." That made me chuckle. And then the really sad part.
You want to explain that to those that would know?
What is there to explain? Wes Craven's a horror director.
Didn't Wes Craven direct the Swamp Thing movie?
Oh yeah, you're right. He did. Yeah, I'd forgotten about that.
Oh, Pete, come on, man.
It was terrible. It was garbage. Why would I remember that?
Okay, but
that's what
wasn't
the reference
just,
was.
Yeah, he just didn't pluck random horror director. There was a reason why.
The real sad part, though, anyway, to bring this back round to what's in the book, at the end of the breakdown, it was very casual the way it's written. Actually, he occasionally says things like, "Oh, this is the big page where everyone will be excited because damn Batman's there," or something like that. It was very casual, but at the end, it's like he's like, "Oh yeah, so this is the big cliffhanger. Batman's there, blah blah blah," and then the last little phrase is, "See you next time." And I went, I feel sad now. Here's something I did not expect to see in a comic book this week from DC was Wolverine and Hulk in a DC Comics page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was not expecting that. There's a bit of tribute art towards the back.
Yeah, I like that DiDio commissioned it though. Like, it wasn't like DC. It was Dan DiDio commissioned this art for the family. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. But you know, Wolverine's in it. There's a little Hulk toy on the desk, and obviously Len Wein there himself. So, what was that?
The little dead man.
Little dead man.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I like they gave it to his wife as well, the original.
Yeah. Which it tells you, which is cool.
Yeah.
So no, I really enjoyed the main story. I thought the final like sort of breakdown in the art for it was a nice little sort of oddity to kind of like explore and kind of look at. But the main story I thought was really good.